Welcome to the Professional Boundaries and Nurse-Client Relationships Practice Standard. In this webinar, I will briefly review the role and function of practice standards and provide an overview of some of the key updates in the revised standard. One of the functions of CNO is to develop, establish, and maintain the standards of practice which all nurses are accountable to. Standards exist to promote safe nursing practice. They communicate legislative requirements and set benchmarks for safe and ethical practice. They also educate the public and other healthcare providers of what to expect of nurses. Here is a visual depiction of the 9 practice standards. Each are shown on this wheel and supported by practice guidelines and other learning resources. You'll notice the code of conduct is at its center, as it serves as an overarching standard to guide all aspects of nursing practice. CNO standards are intentionally broad and principle-based, so they apply across all roles and settings. They outline nursing accountabilities without prescribing every detail. Employer policies are critical as they fill in the operational gaps. Together, standards and employer policies ensure safe, ethical, and consistent care. So now we'll move on to the newly revised standard. The last major update to this standard was in 2006, and nursing practice has evolved significantly since then. The revisions reflect the core framework of nursing care and clarify accountabilities that protect the public from harm. The Professional Boundaries and Nurse-Client Relationship Standard was revised because of its critical role in safe, accountable nursing care. The changes were informed by evidence, including jurisdictional scans, literature reviews, and extensive public engagement, as well as internal data such as inquiries and complaints and reports. Thank you to everyone who contributed. So what's changed? In addition to the title change, the biggest change you'll notice is a dedicated section on professional boundaries and protection from abuse. There's a fresh new format that makes it easier to read and navigate, and this includes moving definitions to the glossary. We've streamlined content, including removing duplicate information from the Code of Conduct. Additionally, DEI, or Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion principles, have been integrated, and there is additional guidance associated with technology and social media use. Over the next few slides, I'll provide more detail about the 3 main principles. The 3 key principles are the therapeutic nurse-client relationship, the foundation of care, professional boundaries, maintaining clear limits so that nurses protect clients, and protection from abuse, ensuring safety in every interaction. Each principle aims to strengthen public protection and clarify what safe practice looks like. The focus of the first principle, the therapeutic nurse-client relationship, is on nurses providing safe, compassionate, and ethical care to promote positive health outcomes. It includes that nurses must recognize the power imbalance in the relationship and never misuse that power. They must build and maintain trust, empathy, and respect, which are essential for client safety and confidence. They must demonstrate culturally safe and inclusive care, including respecting each client's unique values and lived experiences while ensuring not to impose their own personal religious or political beliefs. They must protect the client's dignity and privacy, including when providing physical care, and recognize the client's vulnerability, obtaining consent and documenting care, and always communicating in a respectful way that promotes dignity and trust. Professional boundaries is the second principle. This section focuses on the importance of nurses being aware and avoiding boundary crossings. Maintaining boundaries helps prevent the power imbalance from being misused and potentially having a negative impact. There must be a clear distinction between a nurse's behavior that prioritizes meeting the therapeutic needs of the client and behavior that focuses on the personal needs of the nurse. Nurses should avoid providing care for family and friends, except in limited circumstances when they are unable to transfer care. So, for example, we recognize that in small communities this may be challenging, and nurses may be required to provide care to their family members or friends if there are no other healthcare providers available. In such circumstances, nurses should communicate with the healthcare team to clarify their personal and professional roles and transfer care to another healthcare provider whenever possible. Common questions we hear related to boundaries and acceptable practice include, should I provide care to my family member or friend? Can I accept gifts? And how do I manage social media connections? These situations are often context-specific and require nurses to carefully consider their options, including reviewing employer policies and consulting with their supervisor or employer as needed. And the last principle is protection from abuse. Abuse involves the misuse of power in therapeutic nurse-client relationships. Abuse can be verbal, emotional, physical, sexual, financial, and also includes neglect. Intent does not excuse misuse of power. Examples of nursing accountabilities under the Protection of Abuse section include reporting suspected abuse to appropriate authorities, refusing requests to be a power of attorney or POA, and respecting all client interactions, including social media. There is also specific information related to sexual abuse. You will note we use the term patient here to align with the legislation. Client and patient can be used interchangeably. So under the Procedural Code of the Regulated Health Professions Act, the RHPA, any sexual relationship a nurse has with a patient is sexual abuse. Maintaining professional boundaries, including physical boundaries, is always the nurse's responsibility, not the patient's. An individual is considered to be a nurse's patient for 1 year following the end of the therapeutic nurse-patient relationship, and this 1-year period recognizes that the power dynamic continues to exist between a nurse and their patient for a period of time after the professional relationship ends. Nurses must report all suspected abuse and never enter romantic or sexual relationships with patients. This protects vulnerable patients and upholds public trust. To build on the principles and accountabilities, we've added a section called Partners in Safety to acknowledge that standards don't stand alone. As previously noted, employers play a critical role in client safety that includes creating policies, fostering safe environments, and supporting disclosure of unsafe behaviors. Employers are encouraged to create environments that promote safety and openness to support the disclosure of unsafe behaviors that could harm clients or nurses. This includes developing organizational policies and facilitating access to support and resources for maintaining safe environments. If a nurse has questions or concerns, they should consult with their employer and advocate for policies that reflect safe environments for clients and staff. Additional resources that will be available include updated FAQs, a micro-learning module, and practical guidance to help you apply these changes in your practice. The revised standard is available online in both French and English and goes into effect March 1st, 2026. This final slide lists some of the resources that will be available on the CNO website to help support your practice. If you still have questions, please complete a practice support form and an advanced practice consultant will respond to you within 3 business days. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to follow us on social media to stay connected and keep up with the latest updates.